No, not necessarily. You're in the right place at the right time. And we're going to talk about what is going on in real estate. Today, a presentation of the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. Brent Ward is the CEO there, and he's with us today. What's up?
What's going on today, Jimmy?
Man, just another day in paradise. How about yourself?
Oh, doing okay. Can't complain. It's funny you should mention that you had to go back and add the Central in. You just about let it ride without it. I actually answered the phone for the first time in 5 years the other day, and I forgot what I said, but it did not come out as Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors.
Yes.
I think it came out as Association of Realtors.
That's right. Realtor people, hello.
Yeah. At least I didn't answer the phone and go, what? What do you want?
Yep.
You caught it. Good job.
There goes my brain flying across the floor there.
So did you enjoy the weekend?
I
did,
out there? Man. It was nice. I didn't do much. Had some family members that went on a quick trip down to New Orleans, and they invited us over for Saturday morning breakfast.
Okay.
Which I don't normally eat breakfast, but they said it's going to be New Orleans style.
Did you have some beignets?
Oh yes, I did.
Can't have it without that.
I did. They, my daughter-in-law and son is who it was, so they invited us over, and they gave my wife a little present that they brought back, and her mother a little present they brought back, and I'm sitting there with an empty hand. I didn't say anything. But about the end of the breakfast, my son said, your gift is coming up. And he laid two freshly made. He cooked them himself.
Mm-hmm.
Got the Cafe du Monde mix while he was down there, and he made me some fresh beignets. And man, I hadn't had any in a while. That is fine eating.
I haven't had any of those, and I can't remember when. And my son's uncle lives in New Orleans, so he gets them every once in a while, and he goes down there. So
we had boudin sausage balls. We had some andouille sausage. We had the French toast. And my daughter-in-law made scrambled eggs, and I haven't seen them this way before. They had these down in New Orleans, scrambled eggs with mirepoix, which is like onions, peppers, and carrots.
Okay.
Up in there,
right.
And shrimp.
Oh, and shrimp.
Yeah, man, that was good. I could do that again. Are y'all listening? I could do that again.
Yeah, just in case you want to invite Jimmy back.
Yeah, absolutely. Save me a beignet.
Man, you're killing me over here, Jimmy. Because that's the thing I was going to say is I actually got out and worked in the yard for like 3-4 hours, which is something I wouldn't have been able to do. But I've been trying to lose weight and this, that, and the other.
I went to the window a time or two, and I said, I wonder when those guys are coming to mow the grass. And so far, isn't that awful? I mean, that's terrible.
Well, no, I'm going to say I don't cut my own yard anymore because I got a guy that can do it like in 20 minutes now, which used to take me like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I got out there, and we had a fence put up, so I needed to move some stepping stones, and I had to move a fountain water feature that my wife had out there. So I got out there and worked for like 3-4 hours out in the yard continuously, which I would have never been able to do, the same time last year. So,
absolutely. Well, that's good.
Even though your
good.
Breakfast sounds delicious,
I
would have to take it easy on that.
Except for the eggs, none of that was on a keto diet, which I'm supposed to be on. But I had blown it over the weekend already anyway. And then I got a call from my brother who was in town from Florida, and we went out last night and ate too much again. So today it's going to be bread and water with no bread.
Bread and water with no bread.
Yeah. Let's talk about real estate.
Let's talk about real estate.
Is our market changing any, or is there more availabilities out there than they have been, or are we still in?
It's still running about like it always has.
Yeah.
The one thing that I noticed the other day when I was just looking at stats, and I haven't done a stat show in a while, not doing it today either, but the one thing I noticed was the sales prices are not rising quite as fast as they have been in the past. So, I talk on here all the time about the fact at some point in time the real estate market will start to even out. Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll start to mortgage rates will start to rise back up a little bit. Sales will start to slow down a little bit. Inventory will start to grow a little bit,
right.
And they'll start to kind of normalize back out again. So we're not there yet, but we're slowly but surely getting there. And of course, we're also getting towards the end of the summer months, so to speak. School's getting ready to start back in just a week or 2 weeks for most schools, and that's pretty much a time that stuff starts to slow down because everybody's pretty much set where they're going to be at that point in time, and then you just kind of get back into the normalized.
They got the school zone figured out, and they got the registration done, so they're going to stay put for a little while.
Actually, if you looked on our schedule at our office on what each show is supposed to be about, this one was going to be about schools, the Jackson Madison County schools, but I wasn't sure I really wanted to go down that road.
Well, I'm not sure anybody knows what they're going to get right now.
I'm not sure where the road is, to be honest with you.
Well, You're not the only one.
I know I'm not,
Yeah.
and
I
I've
can
got
think of
children
4 or 5
in the,
more people that are.
I've got
have that
children
same
in the
problem.
school system, and as a real estate agent, even if I didn't,
Yeah.
as a real estate agent, that is such a huge, important topic for for realtors across the board, in the Jackson, Mass County and surrounding areas. And it's something that at some point in time I think we're going to need to talk about with somebody from a realtor standpoint versus just average every day or got kids in the school or whatever. But
Well, you would think they would be aware of that component, but
There again-
maybe they need a refresher course.
I'll say there again, I'm not sure how to answer that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where to go on that statement, Jimmy. I could go in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah, there are
on
all
that.
kinds of different directions to go, and unfortunately, they're going there.
They're going there.
Yeah,
Let's see
yeah,
how many
yeah.
different directions we can go.
But that is something that industry. One of the bigger things that industry looks at when they're looking to relocate to a city is what's the school system like? How
Oh, yeah.
are my kids going to get a good education there?
That's right.
Or
That's
our
a huge
employees,
factor.
Our employees' kids, I guess. I should
Yeah,
say.
and even if they're not going online and looking at statistics or
Mm-hmm.
the state's websites or whatever, they're still going to work somewhere where there's somebody that's going to be more than happy to tell them their thoughts
True.
about the school system. And I guess the one thing that irritates me more than anything, and I'll get off the soapbox in just a second, because I have 2 kids, one that's been in the public school system since kindergarten,
Right.
and I've got another one that's getting ready to go in, starting kindergarten in the fall. So I'm going to have 2 children in the public school system, and it just amazes me how many times I talk to people, and they really just don't have a clue. I mean, they live here, they go to church here, they shop here, they do everything here, but they don't have a clue about the school system and what's really going on. They only
True.
know what they think they know. And then when you start talking to them about it, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't even know anything about that. I'm like, they don't know some of the schools that are out there. They don't know some of the changes that's been made since
Yeah.
Dr. Jones showed up with his crew. I mean, there's just, and it's just complete, I don't know if they don't want to know or they don't care. But if they don't know or they don't care, they probably shouldn't be talking about it.
That's
Just
true,
my
yeah.
thoughts on it.
That's true. That's true.
Because you're only hurting everybody when you do that.
True.
You won't get out there and talk about how bad it is, but you really don't know.
Yeah.
How about we just don't say anything
Yep.
and say, I really don't know what they're like. My kids don't go, they're not in the public school system anymore, or they
Yeah.
don't go to the public school system. But here's somebody you can call. They can tell you a little
Yeah.
something about it.
Well, and we'll get off of this in a minute, I'm sure. But it's a shame, and I'm not shooting at anybody in particular with this
Sure.
with this administration, but even some in the past that we have had for a year or two that are no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
The problem what bothers me more than anything else is the uncertainty for the kids. They
Yep.
don't know what to expect.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you expect them to learn in that environment when they don't know whether they're going to be in this school this year and this school next year? Am I going to be with my friends? Is my teacher going to change? Is the curriculum going to change? Because they don't get that deep into that. But still, it's the uncertainty for the kids is what bothers me more than anything else.
Well, and even that, I'll take it one step further than that. Bless my wife, she's got a heart the size of Tennessee, and so I woke up Saturday morning and she was already awake, just sitting there in bed, and she was already thinking about that already. Just that's
Yeah.
what was on her mind, because there's this talk and mumble that's going around about splitting up Pope and Thelma Barker and taking some of those children and putting them over at Northside,
Yeah.
which if you listen to the parents, I didn't say consumer, I didn't say the citizen, I said parents of those people that
Yeah.
have children in these locations, they are totally against that, but
Exactly.
they might as well be talking to the wall over here when it comes to the school board, because they still keep entertaining that idea.
Yeah.
And just the thoughts of that just freak. So if the kids aren't even old enough to even know what's going on, it doesn't matter, because the parents are carrying on that uncertainty for them.
Yeah, and that's true. Yeah.
And
I agree with the parents.
I
in
do.
that
I
case.
agree with the
That is
parents on that
just-
as well too.
That is just nuts. It's not. It shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't be that way, and it shouldn't be. And I think that's where a lot of the issues are coming in now. Is a lot of the parents that are out there feel like our best interests are not even being heard. Nobody is even listening to what we're saying out there when it comes to that. So.
But yet there are some who say that they've done their homework, and the majority of people in that area want it that way.
Yes, I heard that the other day, and I was like, well, who the heck
Yeah.
did they talk to?
Yeah. What planet were they landing
Exactly,
on? Yeah.
because I've not heard one single parent say that they're in favor of that
No,
at all. Not one.
And most people within the system would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
That
So
that mix of that young and then high school seniors is not a good thing.
No, it's not. It's yeah.
Anyway.
I could go on that forever. So anyway,
That's
so
right.
let's get back. So,
Enough soap today.
schools are important in our area. So
They
just
are.
FYI, if anybody out there's listening on the school board right now, just keep in mind
That's
that's
right.
pretty important to business in our area, not
Yes.
just real estate, but business
But
in
business
general.
in
Because
general.
if we can't get people to move here, guess what else is not coming? Industry's not coming.
Tax
So
money's not coming.
the tax money's not coming. That's right. So, if y'all can figure out some way to get on the same page and get some stuff done, that would be great. Okay, so we're going to move off that.
Yes, our opinion is worth exactly what you just paid for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly what I get paid for being here every day.
So what is
Zero.
going on in real estate, he said?
So what is going on in real estate today? Well, one of the things I want to talk about, we talk about, from our standpoint, we talk about a lot of the online sites that people go to search for real estate, okay, versus, going to one of your local realtor sites or actually just picking up the phone and calling one of your realtors and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, right? And we always talk about the importance of realtors and what the difference is and, how valuable they are to the community, because as we remind people all the time, our realtors, they live here, they shop here, they go to church here. I mean, they are a part of the community, so it's always in their best interest to help you get the most you can get for your house, make sure you find what you're looking for if you're going to use them again for the second house you're going to buy, whatever the case may be, versus a lot of the online sites. And it's so funny, I just had a conversation with Cleve right before I came on the show, literally came on the show. I was talking about that he was approached by somebody the other day, talking to him about some property that he has, and they were telling him how much they thought that they could get for that property. And he wanted to know, well, where did you get that price from? Well, I got it from Zillow.
Yeah.
And he was like, there's no way that property is going to be worth that much money. It's not. He goes, but if you want to buy it at Zillow's price, I'll sell it to you right now while you're sitting here.
Absolutely.
And they were like, well, no, what I'm saying is, and we deal with that as a realtor. We deal with that all the time when you go visit a home seller and they've been on Zillow, which is understandable. It's instant. It's right there in front of you. That's why it got as big as it did.
Yep.
And, then we have to try to bring them back down to reality just a little bit on what they have. And that's what I was telling Cleve. Zillow is totally, and not just Zillow, so I'm not just picking on them, but Zillow and all these online sites like that are all based off of numbers. So the only way they can give you any kind of value is all based off of numbers only. That's it.
Yeah.
There is no algorithm or anything anybody can build that can put a personal touch on that.
That's true.
And I gave him a classic example of that. In about 2010, I went on Zillow and looked at my own house, okay, a house that my wife and I paid about $129 for. It's about 2,000 square foot ranch, built in 1978 on a 1 acre lot, okay, on the north side of town out there. We just happened to find it, and we bought it. And we paid about $129 for it, and that would have been about in 2002, 3, something like that. No, I'm sorry, about 2006. I'm sorry. It was right in the height of the real estate market,
top
right?
end of the market.
Top end of the market. And so about 2010, I went in and looked at it, and in Zillow, Zestimate is what they call it instead of an estimate.
Yes.
They showed the price of my house at about $115, which I thought was a little low, but that's okay. And I'll tell you something about that in a second. Well, I told him the only thing that we have done to our house since the last time I looked at it was we put a new roof on it, which we had hail damage, so we had to do that, right? And we repainted the interior. Other than that, there's been nothing changed to our house at all. And I went back to our estimate, and just 4 years later, that price jumped to $150,000. Now, I haven't done anything to it except for just standard maintenance stuff, new hot water heater, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So how did it go from, 115 to 150 in 4 years with zero changes? And that's the problem with Zillow right there, is because they don't know. They have no idea that nothing's been done to the inside of that property because they don't have eyeballs or feet that have been inside that house. And it's not just mine. That's the thing for everybody across the board that goes to Zillow to say, well, how much is my house worth? Well, if you'll go to Zillow's disclaimer page, which I know nobody ever looks at, but this was pointed out years ago, and I might even have brought this up on the show in the past, it says on there that their estimates could be off as much as 7.5%. And it also mentions in there that if you want to get a true property experience or estimate or whatever, to contact a local real estate agent. It says that in their disclaimer page. So that brings us on to the next thing I was going to talk about today, because I got something that hit me on Friday. I saw this one on Friday, and I was like, wow, this is really big news for realtors and consumers alike.
Yeah.
Because as I've talked about, not only do we live here, but we also fight for consumers' rights, for property homeowners' rights. And we're the only people out there fighting for property homeowners' rights besides the homeowners themselves.
Sure.
So because it affects us, and if we own a property, if we're a realtor and we own a property, it affects us just like it would
Absolutely.
you or
Absolutely.
Cleve or anybody else that's out here. And so there's a lot of online platforms. We don't have it here locally. I don't think it's available here yet, but I'm sure people have seen it online, and it's the iBuyer platform. Have you ever heard of that?
I have
ever
not.
seen that?
No, that was a new one on me.
That's a new one on you. Okay. I thought you might have heard of it, being you're in the industry, but so basically the way the iBuyer platform works, and I love it how they do this, is basically if you want to market your house, one of these online platforms will purchase your house from you, okay, and then that way you can go and do what you want to do. So
Right.
that's where the iBuyer platform comes from.
Gotcha.
Now, it sounds great. iBuyer, iPhone, iPod,
Yeah.
whatever, iPad, you name it.
Yep.
So number one has absolutely nothing to do with Apple whatsoever. That's just the title they call it. And that is the platform they use. The problem is that is not a new platform. That platform has been around forever. I've been in the real estate business 22 years, and that same platform
Yeah.
was in work when I was in the business, but that same platform was in work when my dad was still working for JCPenney's, and that's the platform that all the relocation companies used to use, that if you were moving from, let's say, Macon, Georgia to Jackson, Tennessee, the relocation company would come in and buy your house from you,
Right.
and then they would sell it to the next person, so you could go ahead and buy you a new house in the new
Exactly.
area you're moving to.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't quite work that way anymore. They still buy it, but they won't buy it until you actually get a contract on it, and it goes to close, and you found another house you're getting ready to buy, and then they buy from you, sell it to the next person, so that you can go ahead and buy your new house where you're going, all at the same time, like back-to-back transactions. So that's the difference now.
What's generally when you do something like that? I mean, they're not buying that house from you out of the goodness of their heart. They're
No.
They're doing that to make
There
money.
you go. That's the key
Yeah.
right there.
So how much of a discount are they typically going to hit you with to buy your house?
That's okay. I'll give you an example. There's actually one in the Wall Street Journal that took place in Arizona back in January, okay, where a house that was valued at $240,000. It was one of the stucco houses, and it was 3 bedrooms and had a gravel yard in it. Okay, so you know, Arizona, so
Yeah.
that sounds about normal.
Right.
It was valued at $240,000, and one of these iBuyer platforms bought it for $215,000. Now it says they painted it and did something else to it, did some upgrades to it or whatever. But the part that you don't see on there, and the Wall Street Journal may have gone on into more detail in this, was how much did it actually cost the homeowner? Not just in the fact that they sold it for $25,000 cheaper than what the house was actually valued at, but the part that it didn't tell you is that you will never see the word commission mentioned on any of these iBuyer platforms. Like, it's not mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
Because social media and a lot of the national news sites and stuff are just like beating realtors over the head about commissions and this, that, and the other. And by the way, speaking of that, do you have any idea what the national average is for a real estate agent? Do you have any idea how much they make a year? Do you know what their national
No.
annual salary is?
I really don't.
About $38,000 a year.
Really?
That's it. $38,000 a year. That's a national average for a realtor across the country. It's
Man,
about $38,000.
I would never have guessed that low.
Yeah, that's what it is, and that's a lot lower than a lot of paying jobs pay,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, granted, don't get me wrong, there are those out there that are millionaires
Sure.
that sell a ton of property, and unfortunately, like HGTV and places like that haven't really helped us in that market because everybody they have on their show is, I mean, they're like top notch. You know, and they're flipping houses,
Yeah.
and they're not making a lot of their money's not even coming from the listing and selling. A lot of their money's coming from the stuff they flip
Yeah,
and the
and-
stuff that they do.
And the advertising they get
And
for
the
being on that show.
advertising,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's not normal. That is way above normal. And but yeah, the average is that much. And I just found out the other day that this one's really going to knock your socks off. Care to guess what the average income is for a real estate agent that's only been in the business 2 years or less? It actually went up $1,000. But
really?
Just care to guess
But
what it
that
is?
would obviously be less than that, or would it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just take a wild guess.
$15,000.
$9,870.
Man,
Yep. So there you go. So for everybody that thinks real estate agents
I can't
are
make a car payment on that one.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so you've got to be able to, you got to have money to live off of to get going, or
Yep.
a spouse that can help, you know, bring in income
Yep.
until you can get your wheels rolling and get going and get 2 years under your belt, and then it starts to climb up.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully that's
Yeah.
that's the idea, anyways. So, anyways, back off of that. But so the point being is that they charge more for selling your house. And here's some of the terms they use. I wrote these down because, like I said, you won't see the word commission.
They've got it disguised.
They have it disguised. So here's some of the terms you'll see, like the experience charge. What is that? So they got the experience charge. They have the open door market risk charge, whatever the heck that is. You've got, everybody knows the term credit. That's always good, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the receiving end of a credit, right? So instead of putting on there, let's say, selling commission, whatever, they call it a seller credit to the buyer, okay? Well, that sounds great because you're thinking, a seller credit, but it's going to the buyer, which is them, by the way. You know, these iBuying platforms are the buyer, right? And then the other one was repair credit, which also goes to the buyer. They don't say that on here, but a repair credit's not coming to the seller, it's going to the buyer. And every one of these things I just mentioned come off the seller's bottom line,
Of
okay?
course. Yeah.
So the other example that I saw, this was on a $300,000 house, and they just used this one. And it actually had an actual printout from one of these iBuyer platforms. So they actually had a printout. They had redacted a lot of the information so you wouldn't know who it was. But on a $300,000 house, they were automatically like 2.5% higher than if they had gone out and hired a realtor to come in and do the same thing. Right off the front, 2.5% higher. But then you started tacking on this open door market risk charge. That was about almost $5,000 for that. And then when they got down here to the seller credit to the buyer for repairs, okay, that was almost $6,000. And here's the key on that one. We don't really know that the repairs are going to cost $6,000 on that iBuyer thing. That's just how much they estimate they're going to cost. So that's what it's going to cost you as the home seller. But they may not use all that money to repair the property. And there was an example of that one on one of the posts that I saw where they collected $6,000 for repairs to do all these repairs, but then when the house went back out on the market, the only thing they had done was come in and clean the carpets and paint the interior walls, but they had collected $6,000 on repairs, and they probably spent maybe $1,500, $2,000 tops to do that. So they pocketed an additional $4,000. So when it's all over and done, just to give you an example, it's all over and done, just the fees out of the seller's pocket was almost $15,000 more than it would have been had they hired a realtor to come out and do the exact same job. However, there's one key thing here. You have to figure in how much less did the house sell for versus what a realtor would have been able to sell the same house for. When it was all over and done, they were actually out of pocket almost $40,000 less than they would have been had they hired a traditional realtor to come out and do the exact same job. Because online buying platforms, they make money if the seller loses money. A traditional realtor makes money if the seller's making money because we get paid off of a percentage of the house sale, right?
Exactly.
So it's always in our best interest as a realtor to make sure your house sells for absolutely
as
the
much
top
as you can get
dollar
from it,
because it benefits us as well too.
So they're not only discounting the house, they cut the deal with you on the front end. Then they hit you with what they used to call the fee fees.
The fee fees, that's right.
And I got $40,000 on a $300,000
house.
That's highway robbery.
Now you would think, and me and one of the local brokers here in town before they came brokers used to talk about doing a radio show back a long time ago. Because we just felt like even in today's market, there's so much of real estate that the consumer really just doesn't understand. Even if they bought and sold houses over the years, there's so many parts of it that, which we talk about here all the time, which you're getting ready to talk about some of those parts and pieces here in a minute, that they just still don't understand how they all connect together and make that full real estate transaction, puzzle piece fit together.
Right.
And so you would think that somebody out there that's selling a house, especially that just bought one and now they're getting ready to sell it, would go to one of these iBuyer sites and realize this is not a good deal. But if it wasn't a good deal, they wouldn't be offering it out there from, their marketing platform because they know somebody's going to do it. That's the whole thing. And as they pointed out on that show is their fiduciary responsibility is their stockholders and their board of directors.
Not you.
Not you. That's right. Whereas as a realtor, our fiduciary duty is to you as the client who we've made the agreement with to sell your property. So, that's one of the things, and I keep hammering, and you're going to hear me talk about this a bunch, and I'm going to let Jimmy talk about some of our parts and pieces, and I'll come back with the thing that made a smile appear on my face Friday. So, Jimmy, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about some of our sponsors.
That sounds like a winner. This is the Voice for Real Estate presentation of CWTAR, the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors, and sponsored by Leaders Mortgage Services. One of the things that you need to make a note of is when you get ready to buy that house, get pre-qualified. Get out there and talk to a lender. We would suggest Leaders, and find out what is available to you. There are many, many ways to finance a house these days. A lot of different programs, from FHA to conventional to VA to THDA, all kinds of things out there that you're not going to know about until you sit down with a professional and find out. They can tailor that loan so you can afford it, so you won't have to worry about whether you're going to be able to make that house payment for the next 15 to 30 years or not. Go by and see Leaders first and find out exactly how much you've got to spend, then go shopping. That's the best way to get about it. When you get out there, you're going to need some insurance before you close that loan. We had Angie Hooten Hughes in last week on the show, and she did a great job of explaining the different types of insurance, what's covered, what's not. That's the service that she offers to you. Not only homeowners insurance, but she can bundle your homeowners, your life insurance, your car insurance, save you a little money, save you a whole lot of aggravation. Angie Hooten Hughes, 668-1990 is the Allstate insurance number, the local number. And home inspection usually comes with the package. Pete Dubuisson and his crew at National Property Inspections, they'll come out, they'll do a complete and thorough inspection of that house that you are about to buy or sell, if you want to get that done on the front end, just to make sure you're covered, and tell you exactly what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, and you can go in with peace of mind before you sign on the dotted line, knowing that the house you're about to buy is in good condition. And of course, the last piece of the puzzle is the attorney. They're going to have to check and make sure that title is good. You certainly don't want to buy a piece of property where the title is clouded or encumbered by something that needs to be known. They do title searches, they do title insurance, residential, commercial closings, foreclosures, buy-sell agreements. They do it all. I'm talking about Bird and Bird. Been doing that in this market since 1985. Charles Bird Sr. will himself personally review all the aspects of that transaction, including research, verification of titles, covenants, restrictions, land uses, as well as any zoning or deed restrictions that might apply. Bird and Bird, 424-7188, our fine sponsors here on The Voice for Real Estate. And we left out Paul Schulze earlier in the morning.
We did.
Paul is back there behind the screen. We call him the man with a hand. Paul, you got a hand free? There it is. Paul Schulze with Worthy Road Productions. He takes care of all of our Facebook and all of our social media things here at the station. And you can see this again on the CWTAR Facebook page. Just click on Facebook and go there. And the Facebook Live will have it.
That's right. Yep. It'll be there.
Yep.
So all those people you just mentioned right there in that little spot right there, the one thing about all those people is those personal experiences that you'll make with each one of those people. And back to what we were talking about, if you just tuned in, we were talking about the online real estate places that are out there now, and how they just seem to be everywhere. Like you can't, and there's so many new ones that just keep cropping up just constantly all the time. And don't get me wrong, I want to say the real estate industry is something like a $27 trillion industry. So it's don't get me wrong. Now keep in mind they're including everything into that, not just listing and selling of homes. But so everybody wants a piece of that, and that's understandable.
Sure.
It's a big business, but being truthful to your consumer, creating those relationships, those are what's important. And not to mention, it's to have an online real estate anything would be difficult. I can't even imagine, because every state treats real estate differently.
Yep.
So the same laws that apply in Tennessee on real estate do not apply in Florida or Georgia or New York or California. Yep. A lot of people, if you've only lived in Jackson, Tennessee your whole entire life, if you go buy a house, when you leave that closing that day, you're going to walk out with a set of keys in your hand, and you'll be moving into that house within the next 30 minutes if you want to.
True.
Right?
Absolutely.
In New York, it does not work that way.
No, you have
in New York,
time.
You have escrow time. It might be 30 days after you close on that house before you ever set foot in that house you just purchased. 30 days later. Can you imagine that? I can't imagine how that would be.
I kind of like it here.
Oh, yeah. No, we have people that come here all the time. They're just like, oh, my gosh, I wish it worked that way in our area.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you're still developing these personal relationships no matter where you go. If you're dealing with online, you are not dealing with anybody personal relationships.
No.
I used to deal with an online mortgage company that somehow or another got my name back when I used to list and sell property, and they would send me leads from time to time. And the leads were usually pretty good. The problem I always had with them is the person that sent me the lead was only my point of contact until the offer was submitted. Once the offer was submitted, I changed to a different person. And then once it got past a certain point in the processing, it went to another person. So my point of contact changed like 6 times during one transaction, which was so annoying because I would have to re-explain everything that happened from the beginning all the way to the point where we were now to every single person that I had to talk to. And that is so annoying. But that's the way it is with online, where if you're dealing with a mortgage person that's here local or you're dealing with a realtor that's here local, that's the same person you're going to talk to from start to finish till you get to the very end. And those are big. So what I said was, when we came back from break, I was going to tell you something that put a smile upon my face on Friday afternoon.
And that was
the Department of Justice, the DOJ, has decided to open up a case under their antitrust division dealing with all of these what they call real estate industry disruptors, which are these online sites, and Zillow falls into that mix. They were mentioned by name on that. And what it is engaging in practices that reduced competition and stifled innovation and harmed the consumer. So the Department of Justice has finally, after a lot of screaming and hollering and everything else, has finally said, well, maybe we need to take a look at what's actually going on out there with these online sites and the stuff that they're saying they're offering to the consumer that is supposed to be bigger and better by turning it over to a tech company, when in all actuality it's not. And National Association of Realtors has said for years, we've had our own problems with the Department of Justice way back in the 70s. Okay. And they fixed all those problems. They did what they were told to do. We've moved on. And several times since the 70s, we've come in, and NAR has come in to talk on behalf of the consumer to the Department of Justice about the way that we do business as realtors being the fairest way that you can do business, where both parties, buyers and sellers, still have opportunities and can still make changes and this, that, and the other, and they're not like locked, you're locked into certain stuff, but it just gives you the opportunity, and it's the best way to do it, where nobody is basically getting taken advantage of.
Right. Both
parties it's a fair transaction, and yes, realtors get paid, but I don't know too many people that don't have jobs that don't get paid. So, and I can say a lot of times, having done this in the past, is sellers, and I understand this, we all want to make as much as we can on our properties, but you can get caught up on such small, minute things that just get stuck in your head, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Like, example, my son went with me Friday to work. He's out of school for summer, and he went and fed my fish for me. I have fish in my office, and I wish I didn't, but I do, and they won't die, so I just keep them. And so he fed my fish, and then he went to the back in our storeroom, and there was my old small fish tank back there. He's like, "Can I have that?" I said, "Sure, not a problem." And then all weekend long, that was the only thing on his mind. When am I going to get fish? When are we going to get the tank? When are we going to set it up? Like all weekend, like he wouldn't do anything else except for worry about the fish, which they are set up, and he has them in his room now. Yeah. But we didn't do it till yesterday afternoon late. But that happens in transactions all the time, to where sellers will, right off the bat, I'm not taking any less than this, or I'm not paying any closing costs, or I'm not going to do any repairs. I mean, right off the bat, that's exactly, but then when you get that first offer in and you take it in there to them, usually if you call them on the phone and say, "Hey, I got an offer in my hand," they're like, "Well, how much is it?" When really, that's not even the important part about the offer. That has nothing to do with it. How much is it? Really, it doesn't. Yeah. And I know they think it does, but it doesn't, because what you got to look at is the whole offer as a whole, not one piece of it. And you take it in, you put it down, you say, "This is how much you thought you were going to make. With this offer, this is how much you're going to make. Is this a yes or a no?" Yeah. And if they say, "Well, the purchase price," don't worry about that part. Right. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. The bottom line's higher, which is what you wanted. So, which way do you want to go? "Well, I didn't want to do any repairs." Well, there again, you're only talking about, a few $1,000s in repair, but you're still making more money on the bottom. So, but that's the deal. If you're dealing with a local person and somebody that can sit down with you across from you, you can make these decisions, where if you're doing it online, it's all emails. Yep. It's all text. Yep. It's rarely a phone call. I don't know how times you have to deal with online sites, but there's rarely a phone call. You can't even hardly find a number to call anybody most of the time.
Yeah, you never know who you're talking to or where they are.
Exactly
either.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And they mentioned in this article that, the people that are doing this stuff that you're talking to, they're hourly paid people, $8, $9, $10 an hour. They're not professionals. They've not been trained in this for 2 years in continuing education. They're just somebody they hired. This is how it works. This is how the system works. Have fun. Here's a stack of people we need you to contact or that have contacted you. So anyways, that's pretty much my soapbox today. And just real quick.
Hey, that was a good box, though.
Yeah, it was a good box. I thought it was something that I think that probably crops up across people's desk, and they're probably like, what the heck is this? They don't really know what it is. So let me go ahead and give you a forewarning here. Everything's not like it seems, as we already know. But just a reminder is the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors is having a trivia night.
Yep.
And this is for the Carl Perkins Child Abuse Center, raising money for that. It's on August the 9th, and it's going to be at the CWTAR office. It's only $100 a table. That's for 6 players.
Yeah.
If you pre-register, it's $120 if you register the night of, and but we've got it lined up. I'm going to be your
Be the quiz master.
I guess we'll call it that. My
Yeah.
brother's actually the one that did all the questions and will be keeping up with the scoring, but I'll be the host for the night. But it'll be a fun night. It's a lot like if a lot of you guys out there have teams or you're used to playing trivia and going to some of the bars around town, it'll be very similar to that. So it's bring your own drinks, bring your own food,
Right.
and we'll provide you the tables and the setups. And we've got 2 prizes we're giving away: a best decorated table. It's an SEC themed night, so
All right.
yeah, anything SEC and decorate your table. We got a trophy that'll go home with you. It's a traveling trophy, so you'll need to bring it back next year. We'll give it away. And then we have also got the team winner traveling trophy as well too that we're going to be giving away that night. So if you have any questions, give us a call, 731-668-4907. I got it right this week. Last week I was way off. So 731-668-4907, and that's trivia night at CWTAR. And with that being said, I think I'm done, Jimmy.
That's right. That is what's going on in real estate.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Jimmy.
it.
I appreciate
Always
it.
a pleasure to have you here. This presentation of CWTAR, the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. This has been the voice for real estate.
Have you heard?